Hello everybody, I welcome you all to my English video class. Students, I am back with the another poem of your class 10th English textbook First Flight, that is A Tiger in the Zoo, okay, written by Leslie Norris. Students, as you can see the title, A Tiger in the Zoo, that itself says that this poem is all about a tiger, the one who is in zoo, okay, the one who is in cage, okay. But before we proceed with the chapter, let's know something about the poet Leslie Norris, okay. His lifelong journey has been from 21st May 1921 to 6th April 2006. Okay, he was a prize-winning Welsh poet and short story writer. Leslie Norris is considered one of the most important Welsh writers of the post-war period, and his literary publications have won many prizes. Okay, his career as a poet began to take off when his first collection, Finding Gold, was published in 1967. By 1980, Norris published 3 volumes in the Phoenix Living Poets. His publication Ransoms had won the Poetry Society's Alice and Ballet Prize in 1970. Okay, so this was all about Leslie Norris, and here the Leslie Norris is before you. So students, now let's jump to the introduction part of this poem. The poem A Tiger in the Zoo explains the agony and mental state of the tiger in the zoo. Okay, students, what do you mean by agony? Agony is a great pain, or you can say a great suffering. Okay, so here the tiger is going through a great suffering as he is in the cage, he is in the zoo. So that is all the poet is talking about, like how he is going through the sufferings. Okay, there is a comparison between the life of the tiger in a wild state, in our natural habitat, and in a cage. Okay, how the tiger's life is different in all of these places. The poet gives out a strong message that the wild animal should remain in their natural habitat. The poet explains what his life could be if he had been a free animal. So the poet has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. So in this poem, the poet is going to talk about the freedom and its value. Okay, now let's move to the keywords of this poem. I have selected some of the keywords for you all. So the first word is stalks. What is stalks? Stalks means following secretly, okay, or when you walk with pride, that is also called stalks. Okay, so walking pridely or following someone is called stalking. The next word is vivid. Vivid means bright colored, or you can say if something is clear, okay, crystal clear, that is all called vivid. Pads. Pads means paws of tiger, okay. Raise. Raise means extreme anger. जब आप बहुत ज़्यादा क्रोधित होते हो, and that is called raise. The next word is lurking. Lurking means to be hidden as to wait for one's prey, okay. छिप करके घात लगाना. Fangs. Fangs means sharp teeth of animals. The next word is plump. Plump means fleshy or fatty, you can say. Next word is sliding, and that means walking with ease. Okay, so these were some selected keywords of this poem. Students, now let's go with the explanation part of this poem. Students, this poem contains 5 stanzas. So at first we are going to cover the first stanza of this poem. Let me read the first stanza of this poem first, then we will come to the explanation part. The poet says in the first stanza, he stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his gaze on pads of velvet white in his quiet rays. Okay, what do you mean by these all the lines? Here the poet explains that the tiger is confined in the zoo, moves around in the cage under his bright colored skin, and he further says that the tiger can take only a few steps because the cage is small and it is not easy to move in it. One cannot hear his footsteps because he has very soft feet like velvet. The tiger tries to control his anger by quietly walking in the limited area of his cage. He is angry but cannot do anything. In this way, the despair and helplessness gets reflected on his face. Students, what do you mean by despair? Despair means hopelessness. Okay, so that is hopelessness and helplessness gets reflected on his face. So that's all which has been described in this first stanza. Now let's move to the second stanza of this poem. Let me read first. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass. near the water hole where plump deer pass. Poet says that if this tiger was free, he would have hid himself behind the long grass near the water bodies so that he could easily catch a fatty deer. Okay, how nicely the poet describes. Poet कहता है कि अगर ये टाइगर फ्री होता तो ये ऑफ कोर्स अपने आप को किसी भी लंबी ग्रास के पीछे छुपाता, and it would be easy for him to have its food, to have its prey. Basically, the poet wants to say that the actual life of a tiger is to live in jungle where he could catch his prey and eat it, but the tiger in the cage cannot do so. Let's move to the third stanza of this poem. But before we proceed with the explanation, now let me read this third stanza for you all. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, bearing his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Okay? Though these lines are short as they are total 4 lines but having the very deeper sense. Okay, the poet imagines what the tiger should be doing if he escaped hunting his wild game. अगर वह शिकार कर पाने में सफल नहीं हो पाता या अगर वह शिकार से बच जाता तो उस कंडीशन में वह क्या कर रहा होता. So in that case the tiger would be snarling around the houses near the jungle says. तो वो जंगल के किसी कोने से हमें स्नाल कर रहा होता, ग्राउलिंग कर रहा होता. He would terrorize people with his sharp teeth and claws. This would create fear among the people living in the villages. The poet implies that if we destroy the natural habitats of wild animals, they would be invading our cities and villages as they have started doing so. Okay, so what the poet says that if we keep on destroying the natural habitats of such wild animals, they would be invading. The day is not far away when all the animals will be walking all around us. Okay. So this was all in the third stanza. Let's go with the fourth stanza. But before that, let me read out the lines of this stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his gaze, ignoring visitors. Okay, what the author is trying to tell us. Now the poet comes to the reality of the tiger that is inside the cage. He says that the tiger is confined in a strong cell which is made of a strong building material. Okay, the tiger is there inside the strong cell wherefrom the tiger cannot come. He moves in despair on the stony surface of his cell. He is angry and disappointed but cannot do anything. He just stalks in the cage. He never tries to terrorize the visitors because his power is restricted by the cage. Okay, as he is there in the cage, so being ferocious, being powerful, his might is not going to be used by him. The poet implies the carelessness and indifference of the officials towards his pathetic plight. Okay, यहाँ पर जो टाइगर की दयनीय दशा है उस सब के लिए पोएट किसे दोषी ठहराता है? उन ऑफिशियल्स को जो कि इन सभी जानवरों का संरक्षण करते हैं. Okay. Now let's understand the final stanza of this poem and try to understand what the poet has described in this. The tiger remains disturbed by the patrolling cars even at night. Okay, poet क्या कहता है कि रात में भी even tiger अच्छे से सो नहीं पाता patrolling cars की वजह से. The noise which is being produced by the patrolling cars disturbs him. Patrolling cars are the vehicles of police which are used to guard at night. You know. He then stares at the shining stars, and then what the tiger does? He stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes, seemingly praying to the Almighty for freedom. Okay, his eyes are brilliant, which implies that he hopes for freedom someday. Okay, students, what do you mean by brilliant here? Brilliant means shining. Okay, इसकी चमकती आंखों को देखकर ऐसा लगता है कि अभी भी उसने थोड़ी बहुत उम्मीद पाल रखी है अपने स्वतंत्र होने की. ठीक है, उसे ऐसा लगता है कि एक दिन आएगा जब वह स्वतंत्र हो पाएगा. That's all which have been described in this poem. Here the poet stresses that why we the people generally keep all the animals in the zoo. Okay, we are just destroying the natural habitats. Then how all the things are going to affect the environment. Okay, so after reading all these stanzas of this poem, how can we conclude this poem? We can conclude that freedom shouldn't be snatched from the wild animals, as captivity is the worst punishment. Okay, so we should keep this in our mind. We shouldn't destroy the natural habitats. Let them be free, let them be safe, and let us all be safe through all that. Okay, so thank you so much. Take care and goodbye.